Hello and welcome. My name is Tom, and I almost kind of halfway flubbed that intro. This is the Enthusiasm Project, episode 100. Yes.
Yes.
Amazing. And
so amazing.
yes. And it's also season 5, episode 16. That's also going to be important in a bit. So to celebrate 100 episodes, is that a centennial or is that only time? I have my lovely wife, Heather, here.
That's me. I'm lovely wife.
Yes. So we're going to be doing a Q&A episode. I put out calls for Qs on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and of course via email. And we're going to go through those today. We've got some super cool stuff. And then I also have something else to help celebrate.
Really?
Yes.
What is it?
It is a coupon code. So, yeah. In order to celebrate, so this is my 100th episode of this podcast.
That's very exciting.
Which is crazy. We will talk
I
about
don't
that.
think I've done 100 of anything.
It's kind of bananas to me.
So good job.
Thank you. And also, I did want to, I was going to say this later, but I'll say it now. I did want to thank you for always being super supportive, especially because I think it's easy to think that like, oh, you know, you're doing 100 episodes of this show and it makes sense that like you need to spend some time working on the show. But when it's episode 1 and I didn't know what I was doing and I had nothing going and I was like, I'm going to go record a podcast episode. And you were like, yeah, go for it. You should. You know, that's important to have that support. And I appreciate that very, 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 very much.
Of course. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, 100 episodes is pretty cool.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. So in order to celebrate, if you out there want to start your own podcast, as you may or may not know, I have a couple of podcasting courses. I've got the Podcaster Playbook and the Podcaster Idea Book. The Playbook is a production guide to go from start to finish, and the Idea Book is to help you come up with a sustainable concept for your show. You can go to himynameistom.com/courses to check out either of those, but to celebrate, you can use promo code TEP100 between now, if you're listening to this on the day it comes out, and Monday, November 8th. So it's only going to be good for a week from the time this episode releases to get 16% off either or both courses. Why 16, you ask? Because this is season 5, episode 16.
Wow.
And 100% off would not be good business. So if you want to, if you're been thinking about enrolling courses or you want to check those out, go to himynameistom.com/courses and use promo code TEP100 to get 16% off before November 8th.
TEP 100.
2021. There you go. So that's my gift to you.
Yay.
And it's me trying to learn how to market stuff. Yay.
That was great.
Yay.
Yeah.
Look at that. Super pro. Super pro. So we've got questions. They sort of spanned the gamut. I've gone through and, you know, I picked them up so that I could put them into Ecamm so that if you're watching the video version of this through Patreon or YouTube channel memberships, you'll be able to see them on screen and also actually see the people's screen names and stuff. But there are also 2 video submissions. Everything else is basically just in a kind of a random order. It's a hodgepodge of questions from all the platforms. But I wanted to do the 2 video ones first. And these are the 2 things that I have not seen prior to this. I didn't watch these. I wanted to do it,
Get the reaction
I wanted
on
to get
vid.
the reaction on the vids. So the first one is from Patrick Boberg, who he's been on an episode of the Ska podcast. He's the one who wrote the original composition for what is now the theme song to this podcast and the Ska podcast. And he's just all around great guy. I'm assuming. I don't know what you said in your message, Patrick. So we'll see if I still feel that way afterwards. But let's kick things off with a video submission from Patrick Boberg.
Hey, Tom. You know what? Not this time. Tom, hey there. It's Pat, longtime listener, occasional time singer, second time video caller. And first, let me say congratulations on 100 episodes of this podcast. And as for a couple episodes back, you mentioned, you know when to call it quits on the Ska podcast. Totally understand how it goes with creative endeavors. I've been there myself a time or two. And that's just, some things got to be backburnered. Sometimes you're like, this is awesome. I'm going to do this until, the sun explodes. And then, you don't even come close to the sun exploding. In fact, none of us ever will. Ennui. But whatever. So this is awesome. 7 hours of a ska podcast. That's like a pretty decent audiobook right there. And 100 hours or more of this podcast, that's like 5 really long, awesome audiobooks. So you know what? That's how I look at projects that end after a while. I've done similar things with podcasts that have gone about a dozen episodes, and then turns out I don't want to spend that time to do that, as much effort as it takes to do creative endeavors. So good on you, man. Glad to know that you're not letting it fall apart. Now on to the question I have for you, because this is a Q&A episode of your podcast. Let me put this down. As you can see, I'm in my basement, which is slowly coming together over the course of the 2 months that I've lived here, and it's an absolute mess. I've just got mess everywhere. Ska. But I have to ask you, you get a lot of gear sent to you, and you've got to have just like scads and scads and scads of cords and Allen wrenches, and audio adapters. I mean, what do you do with this stuff as it all starts to pile up? I'm starting to put this thing together, and eventually there'll be this stuff off the ground and up on the wall like this. And I just want to know, what do you do with all the extra things you have? And do they end up in the trash? Do you give them away? Are they going to be on the buck shop down the line? But you can't do that with a single RCA to 1/4-inch adapter. What do you do, my man? Congratulations on 100. Hope there's 100 more in you. And I hope there's, maybe 5 more ska podcasts, give or take, down the line.
All right.
Hey,
Thank
Tom,
you. Oops.
You know what?
Start
Not this time.
Patrick, I'm telling you that we're done now.
Tom?
There we go. Okay. Thank you so much, Patrick. I like the video submission. It's
cute.
okay that you didn't write an original song for it. Your basement studio looks awesome. Camera quality looks cool. Ska whiteboard looks super cool. And thank you for that. So I had a couple of thoughts on these things.
Tom is very organized. He has he takes a lot of pride in his organizational. You have like a shelf or a basket for all these little knick-knack things.
Yeah, Heather is saying this
There's
as we're
here.
looking past the camera right now. We're
To the
staring
closet.
at it
Yeah.
all right now.
It's all labeled. I remember when you got a label maker.
Yeah.
You got a label maker. We're so excited about it.
Yeah.
So like right now we're staring at 2 small boxes. One's ball heads and one is mounts.
Yes.
And they're like, there's no lid because it's full of
Yeah.
ball heads and mounts. So you have a lot of these little things, but they're all organized.
It's hard to keep track of that stuff. And I don't like throwing things like that away that have a purpose and have a use. But to go back to the beginning of your question, where you're talking about the ska podcast, I did want to emphasize that my plan is to actually do more episodes of that, but just I don't know when. And it's just whenever the mood sort of strikes and the time strikes, of course. But yes, organization. So cables, I do kind of have like a pile of cables that I'm looking at right now. It's a mess, but at least they're all properly round with the over-under method. I have a video on my YouTube channel all about the over-under method, which was actually retweeted by Matt Diavello once, and that made me really happy. That's a very worthwhile skill to have if you don't know how to wrap your cables properly so that they don't get tangled. And then I have a bunch of those little red cable whips, either that or Velcro things to keep the cables organized. And they're just kind of there because I grab them all the time and put them back. The other thing, though, for all the little stuff is, I have a lot of these things printed, which are, if you're listening to the audio version, you can hear this. They're little plastic 3D printed boxes that I just made myself. It's like the simplest design you could ever possibly do in Tinkercad.
It's just a box.
To cover eyes here to see if I can show it on camera. But I do, in my own handwriting, it says adapters on the side. So that's kind of cool, and they're purple and blue. And I have a bunch of these. So like one of them is just for audio adapters. So all the like 5/8 to 3/8, 3/8 to 1/4 20 things. And then another one is like XLR adapters. Another one is like computer adapters. So all those dongles. Basically, there's specific adapters in each box. And what I can do, I don't think I have this already. So by the time you listen to this episode, what I will do is put the link I'll put these up on Thingiverse, the 3D printed designs, and I'll put the link on my downloads page on my website. So if you have a 3D printer and you want to download them, or you want to send the file to one of those print services where they'll 3D print stuff for you, you could do that. And then you can have these boxes They're not super big, but they don't take too long to print. And they're easy to print.
I think the important thing that Tom does is like every part has a home. So even if I have this stuff, Tom has it all in his closet so that
Heather hates having extra stuff. So if we get a microphone that has like an adapter, like, you got your MV7, your custom one, and it comes with like little adapter, and she's like, I don't need this, you take it.
Yeah.
And then if you ever need anything, I just have it. But I'm kind of running out of space, so I need to do a little bit of purging or a little bit more purging. So thanks so much for that, Patrick. Why did my camera turn off? That's weird. That's very, very strange.
Oh, it's turned back on, maybe?
Well, I'll fix that during our next video submission, which will be from Bailey Stone, all the way from the land down under, the land of Oz. Bailey has submitted a video submission. Bailey is absolutely awesome. You've probably seen him in... Here's something awesome that Bailey did. He's a moderator on my channel for live streams and such, and he put together spreadsheets to share with everybody else that has all of my affiliate links and all of my videos in it. So if somebody in a live stream says like, hey, what microphone is that? Or what video did you talk about that? There's like a searchable spreadsheet where someone can just pop and I don't have to think about it. And that's kind of amazing. So here is a video submission from Bailey.
Hey Tom, first off, congratulations on 100 episodes of your podcast. It's absolutely spectacular, and hopefully I can get there at some point. But the question I had for you is, what's your favorite episode of the podcast that you've done? You've done a lot with your wife Heather and loads of other people, and you did a couple interviews back in season 3, I think. And they were all amazing, but what's your favorite overall, whether it was how you recorded it, edited it, or who it was, or anything like that? Thanks. Hey, Tom.
Thank you so much, Bailey. I am accidentally playing the theme song right now and Bailey's thing. So hooray, because I don't know how to use Ecamm Live. I think, hey, camera's back. I was trying to
sneak out to go fix the camera.
I know we could just pause and do these things, but that's not how we do it. I've done this 100 times, so clearly I'm so professional. I tried to change my battery while I was...
So what's your favorite episode?
Yeah. There are a lot. I was thinking of like the first one, of course, came to mind because that was a big deal to like finally sit down and record an episode of a podcast, something I've been wanting to do for years.
I don't know which ones they are, but I know there have been a handful of episodes where you're like, oh, I need to talk about this. And then you go in the room and you come out of your room just relieved and just like, oh, I got the rant out.
Yeah, that happens a lot. The ones that come to mind that I'm most like proud of, I guess, would be there's actually a lot that I think about it. Last year I did a 3-part thing that was like revenue sources, costs, and how we set up like our business. And those weren't like the most entertaining episodes, but they were the
really practical.
They were so practical, and I got so much feedback from people who were like, "Thank you. Now I actually can use this information." I really love that, and that led into earlier this year when you helped me with the Secret Series episodes.
Oh, that was fun.
I think that series is probably my favorite.
Well, because you were also going through like a life transition.
Yeah, and it was really cool, and I probably would have done an episode about it when it was over, but your idea to like...
You gotta document the journey, yo.
Yeah, like literally the day I handed in my notice, you were like, let's go sit down and talk about this.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then every time something happened, and you helped navigate that really well. And I don't think I could have done that or documented that by myself nearly as well. So that was really cool. And
well, you gotta give yourself, credit for wanting to share, because that was a scary time.
It was
lots of change,
but that's what I think. It wasn't just like listen to this story of me on my
you were figuring it out. Like,
I thought that would be helpful, and that's I think that's the stuff I like. If there's a running theme, is stuff where it's like, here's a thing I dealt with, I'm going to tell you about it, and then you can use that info to like navigate your own thing. And so that's those are probably some of my favorite ones. All right, now we're going to jump into just different social media submissions in no particular order. So this one is from YouTube. Oh, that's right. Actually, this was done first because this is from Choose Adventure California Style, who has been so kind and supportive.
Yes.
And and has gone through and watched like all of my like old videos.
Aw,
like
that's
the
awesome.
vlogs and stuff. So I really appreciate that. And it's funny, in the 100th episode, they said, I just subscribed to your podcast. I had no idea you had one. I'm so good at marketing things. Do you ever force yourself to make content when you're not in the mood just to have consistent content?
I'm smiling
why
for the
are you
audio
smiling?
people because yes, 1,000%. Tom is, he is literally probably the most self-disciplined person I've ever met, which like sometimes I have to check myself because I feel really guilty. I have ADHD. It's really hard. Like consistency is just like
Our brains just work different.
yeah, it's just something that's really hard for me. And Tom, I mean, he will rally. He will rally if he's tired, if he's just not feeling it. Like, you know, sometimes, thankfully, his schedule is flexible. So if he really, for some reason, is just not like last week, we did barbell squats with our personal trainer for the first time.
Yes, we did.
And Tom was so sore like that same day.
I completely died. My brain stopped
and he had
working.
no idea what he was in for. And so we really pushed it at the gym. And he basically was, you know, the day was shot. And so he just moved everything to the next day. But, you know, he's still being consistent. It's just that sometimes he has to rearrange the schedule just in case. But
that's a
he'll
flexibility
push through.
that's new. But what I've learned is what Heather said. Once I rally and get started, then it's fine. It's like going to the gym. Like if you're at
put
home,
your shoes on and then you'll take the first step. And the first step's the hardest, but you know,
once you're there, it's fine.
I'm 5 years into this and it's still hard.
Well, the other thing that I was going to say, which I've talked about many times, is my like scheduling ahead of videos and stuff, which I don't really do with podcasts, but with videos, that has been a lifesaver many times to buy some time to like, so that way I'm not making something that just wouldn't be good. There have been times I don't do that with the podcast. The podcast is not scheduled in advance. Like if you're watching the video version of this, we recorded it this morning. If you're watching it when I post, it's the same day. So there's no scheduling ahead with that. And sometimes, which just happened a couple weeks ago where I was like, I kind of ran out of time and we were busy and I was going to do an episode and like force it. And I was just kind of thinking like, I'm not going to make a good episode right now. Like I have nothing, I'm just going to be making an episode to make an episode. And that's not great. So I would rather just skip this week and then do the next one. So I do that with the podcast. I mean, it happens like maybe once or twice per season, usually.
But thankfully for video, you straight up love the process.
Yeah.
So you will.
And video, I mean, that's like, I consider that my job now. So it's just, there's just non-negotiables. Like it's gotta get done. So anyway, thank you so much for that fantastic comment there. Up next, we've got from Muhammad on YouTube. Do you ever have video ideas you really want to make, but they don't fit on your channel? What do you do with that idea?
Yes.
This is why I'm glad Heather's here, because
like sometimes you get the itch out by recording for me. I feel like.
Yeah.
There's been times where you've been my second shooter kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't have to edit the video.
Which is very nice. Because you have that, right, on your channel where you have ideas and you're trying to like... Well, you have the two-channel dilemma.
Luckily I have two channels. Luckily, like for better or worse, I have two channels. And the vlog channel is pretty broad because I can kind of make everything connect since it's the life and business of full-time content creators.
You're the subject.
Yeah. But what do you do? That's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of depends. Like,
I mean, you did do the drum live stream this past year.
Yeah, that was on my channel, which I tied it in. So this is what I try to do.
You tie it in.
If it's completely unrelated, like today, one of the ways we celebrated was that I tried out a 48-hour chocolate chip cookie recipe.
Yes. Takes 48 hours to make these suckers.
Yeah, because we got a stand mixer last week or the week before, and I've just been trying
Tom's new hobby.
Yeah, KitchenAid stand mixer. Yes,
it's life-changing for
amazing. So anyway, trying to do that. It was super cool. The whole process of like learning how to make toffee and browning butter and making the dough sit for 48 hours. Fascinating. Finding specific fancy salt to sprinkle on them when they're done is really cool. That won't fit on my channel anywhere. Like I could make a video about cookies or something, and I'm sure a few people would watch it, but it would actually probably hurt more than help
the channel for sure.
Yeah. And so that would just be like, well, I'm not gonna do a video about that. But other things, like a lot of my like retro cameras and other ideas, and even the drum stream, I can find teaching prepared me this. I can find little strings. So the drum stream seemed unrelated because most of it was me playing drums, but it started out with like, how do you mic a drum set? I have all these microphones. Let me figure out how to mic up a drum set. I like the creative challenge of trying to make it connect and fit in a way. And it seems like people generally like it when I do that. So
it's a different angle.
It's a different angle, and it is like more personality driven. It's not just like, here's a thing, here are the specs about the thing, here's the price of the thing, we're done. It's
honestly too, I think this question comes from, sometimes your creativity itches in a way where it's like, I want to do something totally different. But with Tom's videos, he literally tries to level up every video. Like it's not just I just have to edit this real quick and then put it in the hopper. I feel like you're almost taking longer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been taking a lot longer to edit lately.
Yeah. So it's not like it gets easier. It's just that he will find a new technique, a new, way to present the info and do effects and stuff that will scratch the itch of making, making a video that's totally random. It's like, well, you're trying this totally new technique that kind of fits that.
You're like my PR person. I like that. It works really well.
Tom analysis.
Yes. It's like Heather reacts live. Here's another YouTube one from Henry Simpson. How long does it take? Perfect. To film and edit your videos. Love your videos. Thank you, Henry. How long does it take? I could, if I wanted to, I could crank one out in a day. And like recently, last week, I got the 14-inch MacBook Pro, which is amazing.
That's like once in a blue moon, though.
Yeah, that's kind of rare because I don't want to.
That's an inspiration in the moment, capitalize.
Yeah, but that I wasn't even planning to make that video. I got the computer and I specifically was like, YouTube
I gotta make this today.
But first, I was thinking like YouTube is full of first impression videos. It's the same computer that everybody has.
Right.
Like we all know what it looks like, But I got it and I started using it and I just got so excited about it that I was like, I have to make a video about it. And I turned on the camera and it was, I think from the time I was like, I'm going to make a video to the time the video was done and uploaded was 3 hours. But it's also a very simple video with like basic handheld B-roll, mostly talking head, no real script because it's just me telling my thoughts about it. So
I will say that your average is 3 days.
I think that's about right.
So 1 day to shoot and then 2 days to edit.
Yeah. That's what, and that it could be quicker, but being able to do that, I have found the videos got better. Yeah. So filming the video in a day, it might take anywhere from, it usually takes, I would say, an hour to film the talking part of a normal video.
Yeah, the B-roll is like another.
And then the B-roll is another, anywhere from like 1 to 2 hours, depending on what it is.
And then setup and breakdown for the whole thing.
Setup and breakdown. And then, so usually on the...
And then you're scripting. You outline your videos too.
True. Yeah. Well, that's usually even before that, if you wanted to count it as like a 4th day. But so there's that part, there's the setup, and then when I'm done filming, that's when I like take all the footage and make sure everything's like processed. I double check that like the sound worked, everything. And then I usually don't start editing. Sometimes I'll do a basic start, but just because I don't want to edit when I'm like tired of something or feeling tired, because then you kind of rush through it. And so then the next day I'll come in and do like the basic edit.
The first pass.
Yeah. Where the video could kind of be done or finished, but I have found that
you're starting to get more stylized.
Right. Because if you come back, if you're not exhausted because you've been editing for hours on end and you come back the next day with fresh eyes, you're like, wow, the video's basically done. Now I can throw in these little like things here and there and
jazz it up a little.
Yeah. And you have fresh eyes to go like, oh, this whole segment here could be deleted. This could be moved over here. Like it's helped me like chop them down a little bit.
It's hard for me to do that because I'm so used to just complete the video in a day. But for sure, when I when I come back to it the next day, I've completely rearranged things before.
It was hard to shift into this because I was used to pretty much doing the whole video in a day, if not at least filming one day, editing another day. And it was kind of hard to drag that out, especially when the finish line feels like it's in sight.
Right there, yeah.
Like, I could spend another hour and be done with this. But instead, I'm going to pause it and then spend 3 hours on it tomorrow? Like, what? But once I kind of got used to that workflow, I think the videos got better. So that's how it's been for a while. And I like it. Yeah. And it does let you do more fun, like, stylized stuff. Another YouTube one from Kobinja. Oh, wait, no, this is Twitter, @Kobinja. How many dad jokes are enough? I think...
Don't you try to fit one in like every 30 seconds?
Well, I was going to say, you'll know the limit will become apparent to a dad joke.
Oh my God. See, sometimes they go over my head. I have to sit here and like, where was it? I'm too literal. I don't think the way you do.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. You can never have too many. But
they come so easy to Tom. So if it's a good one, you'll drop it in. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like, it's on the fence of like, this isn't a joke, but it's like just rhymes. Like the words rhyme. And I said it in the way that it sounds like a joke. And I'm like, that's not really a joke, but it sort of works. I don't know, I guess. The funny part though, which is funny about like the podcast specifically, is like now I have to put, like originally it was, I'm going to put a joke in every video. And then it's like, now I have to do like wordplay.
You should do one where you don't do any jokes.
People don't like it.
I know. But then everyone will have to put their joke in.
Yeah. Well, it's hard for me not to.
I know, because that's how you talk.
But there are times, especially if I'm doing something that's like a little more in depth, where like I'm so focused on getting the info out or explaining something that then the jokey part doesn't fit in. And I have to like be very conscious now of, this is like my curse of like being typecast. It's like, okay, I have to do that. And it's like what people are like, I subscribe for the jokes, don't even care about the content. I'm like, that's fine. Which is fine. I'm not complaining if that's how I'm typecast. But that's also where the podcast doesn't have like, I'm not constantly trying to like joke it up. It's just sort of whatever I feel like. And I figure if someone listens to the podcast, they're cool with that. And they're cool in general. All right, we're going to jump over to Instagram right now. So this is from, hey, Archer. Hey, Archer. Mm-hmm. When was the moment that you knew you could do this full time? Congrats. Thank you for the congrats. I thought this was a really interesting one.
For the record, I knew from day one.
That's why I thought it was interesting, because you're here. I wanted to know.
Day freaking one, man. The first day I met you.
I know. She was like, you can just do this. And I was like, I just need money.
I knew he had it in him.
But there's a difference between having it as a goal versus like, oh, this could actually happen now. And that's where I'm like...
Well, Tom is so practical.
I
mean,
yeah.
Well, here's the thing. This is what it comes down to. If there were no COVID, he would still be working. Like, let's not get it twisted. That's true. I mean, I don't think that Tom... He is a person who's so dedicated, loyal, and committed that he will never go back on something that he... job abandonment or whatever it is. Well, like, you're never going to do that. And
that being in, like, a classroom with students,
I think his goal... Daily, I think your thing was, in the next 5 years, I'll quit.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to leave teaching in the next 5 years.
5 years, guys.
Yeah. I think I said 5 to 7.
Jesus.
But it wasn't even until... I guess it would have been last summer.
And he could have done it. You could have done it, like, a while ago.
Well, I mean, when push comes to shove, yeah. But I think it was summer of 2020 that I actually, on this podcast, admitted that I wanted to do it full time.
But then 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, but it just admitting that it was something I actually did want to do.
Was the moment.
Because there's those times where you're like, if you're one of those people where your channel blows up and you're making 6 figures a month, like, it's an obvious choice. But for most of us, that's not how it goes. So admitting that it's something you want to do was a big thing.
Yeah, I don't mean it like Tom was... You weren't even making as much as your job.
Yeah.
But I just knew that it would grow. So I was like, why not... If you're going to work... And one is scalable, right. Why wouldn't you put that effort to the scalable one?
Yeah. So it was really like the end of 2020 where... the income from the channel was starting to equal and surpass the income from the day job. And I wanted it to significantly surpass the day job because of the extra risk. You don't have the long-term security.
Yeah,
there's other costs like health insurance.
He was throwing out crazy numbers of like why I was getting so. See, this is like the one conflict we've ever had in our entire relationship, because I was like, I can't believe you are putting all these restrictions on allowing yourself to do this, because you're the only one getting in your way. It's just you. And he was like, I want to make like $30,000 a month for cushion and
my thing was
savings and stuff.
I was thinking $22,000 a month was ideally what I would have wanted to not only cover to meet what I was making as a teacher, which was not $22,000. My paychecks were like $9,000, and then minus taxes, it was about $6,000 take home. But I wanted the 22 was a number that I thought was going to cover taxes, cover health insurance, and let me save a sizable chunk, because could you do this for how many years?
Long-term, sustainable.
And so I wanted the massive increase in income to cover that risk. And it didn't get to that point, because eventually push came to shove.
And you quit before that. Yeah.
It has never gotten to that point. We'll just say that. But it's...
But I mean, talk about quality of life improvement. It's worth it.
That was what I didn't realize was the quality of life improvement. I have not set an alarm clock since March 19th of 2021. And we're recording this on Halloween. That's crazy, because most of my life was spent waking up to alarm clocks. Like most days on Earth.
That's not to say we don't wake up early.
We still get up at like 5 o'clock.
Yeah, this morning we woke up at 4:30. So
there's a huge difference between waking up at 5 o'clock and like deciding to go eat breakfast, take the dogs out.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Like the dogs are waking up versus like I have to go.
Yeah. I was, wake up at 5:15, in the shower at 5:20, out the door at 5:45, 5:50. Like that's a very different just experience on the daily. So anyway, that answers the question there. Thanks, Archer. I always appreciate your support, and I like your shirts. They're very comfy. This is from, this is a YouTube one, from Alvin Lax. Biggest takeaway since going full-time. Look, these are all like in perfect order. Is there anything you would have done differently? If not, why? What do you miss the most about teaching gig lifestyle schedule? It's a good question.
Biggest takeaway since going full-time. Let's start there.
I'm curious. I would want to know what yours is too, because since leaving your job and you 5 years, almost 6 years.
I mean, the biggest takeaway is, and I hesitate to say this because I feel like I'm making it sound so much easier than it is, but the fact that you're totally independent, you're in charge of your time, and it's completely flexible, the efficiency of working for yourself and not having to, especially for Tom coming from public school system where everything is you tell this all the time, but it took an hour for you to order equipment for your classroom, or a year for your equipment. Yeah, teleported over. You ordered equipment for your classroom. It took a year for basically the equipment to get into the students'
Yeah, you're
hands.
planning a year ahead. Everything is slow.
Like that's just so insane. Versus Tom woke up this morning and was like, I think I'm gonna go get a Kindle. We're gonna go to Best Buy after this, and you'll have it. I know that has nothing to do with your channel, but it's the same thing. Like
deciding to upgrade a computer, deciding to...
There's no signature. There's no meeting. Yeah. There's no, wait until next week. Wait until next school year.
Produce a course, not produce a course.
Yeah, like you made a decision. You crunched out your second course in like the matter of a weekend.
The whole thing, yeah. And I did... This is insider info. It says nothing about the quality of the course, but the ideation of the idea course to the pre-orders was like 4 hours.
Yeah. And like that's the thing, because
I had the idea, and before lunch I had sold like 5 of them, which
when
was
you're working
amazing.
For somebody else, someone has to like approve the draft, and then go back and forth on edits and da-da-da. And if you know that you are going to do your best work, there's an audience, a community that trusts you,
and you have to trust yourself too, like you're not going to slack it and that kind of stuff. So that's big. What really has hit me is just the and this is not to say anything negative if for anyone working in a traditional job, but just sort of the absurdity of like the system we have built for ourselves, where okay, you're growing up, you're reaching adulthood, now pick now, and even not necessarily pick a job because your jobs are going to change, but just work pretty much all the time until your body's about to give out and you die, and then maybe you'll get like a couple years before you die, and that's your life.
And we're just okay with that.
Is absurd to me, and I always felt weird about that, but having sort of stepped back and looked and been like, that is, it's not, if you have the option not to spend your time that way, it's really nice to not have to spend your time that way, because it's yeah.
Is there anything you would have done differently?
Anything I would have done differently.
Would you have left sooner?
I'm
knowing
happy.
what you know.
So I don't think so. I'm very happy with the time of how things worked out. Yeah. The thing that I am happy with is I gave my notice in February for the end of the school year in June, but then because of just like the circumstances of our school district's COVID situation, I ended up leaving in March. And that was kind of cool because I gave my notice because I wanted to give plenty of time to help find a replacement and transition. Yeah. But once I gave the notice, I was itching so bad.
Yeah,
to be
you were
done.
I kind of wish I was leaving sooner.
Yeah. And then that just happened because as soon as they were originally it had been we will be virtual all year. And then suddenly it was, we're just going to smash everyone back and your job's going to get 10 times harder. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm out. And a bunch of people got COVID and stuff, and it was a total nightmare for everybody. So I'm very happy that I just dipped, which I said I would do from the beginning of the year. I was like, if they, at all our teacher union meetings, it was like, if they said,
what do you miss the most about teaching?
The thing I miss,
lifestyle, schedule.
Well, okay, in a program like mine where the students choose to be there and everything is actually working, you have a class and the students are all making different projects, you might walk around and there's someone doing a Photoshop thing and someone making an animation and people over here with a stop motion setup and people filming a scene and people checking out equipment for the weekend. That sort of chaotic energy,
it's fun.
Chaotic productive energy.
It's so fun to be around.
It was incredibly fun and
energizing.
And with high school students who are just so excited about this stuff. Mm-hmm. And once they cross the threshold of getting started, they're kind of fearless because they're not thinking this isn't my niche and this isn't my skill. It's just I want to try this.
Yeah.
They're not really gear snobbing it. They're not doing it. It's just
they come in with a new idea. They're excited to show you what they've been working on.
That I miss that. And then the other thing I miss is on when there were breaks, so whatever, winter break, summer break, you kind of know, you sort of know even if I do nothing on this time, work will start up and you sort of can still plan exactly to the penny what your income will be, and that's kind of nice. Whereas that is not the case anymore. It's
but whatever else,
lighting a lot of incense and praying to a lot of different gods to hopefully have things work out. But anyway, thanks so much for that question. This is from YouTube as well, from Chris Polk. 3 days ago. That's not, I was like, that's a screen name. An extremely selective fire burned up everything but your MacBook Pro and cameras, but you only have $500 to replace all of your audio and switching gear. Where do you spend it? An extremely selective fire. I like this. I wrote a joking reply to Chris that said I spend the money at the casino to get the money I really need, but it's I'll answer the question fairly. The thing that does, which I've ranted to Heather about many times, is when people say I love the Rodecaster and I want the Rodecaster. What can I get for $150 that's the same? And I'm like, nothing. Because if that existed, I would be
in a league all the time.
I would use that.
Yeah.
But $500 is a good budget.
That's a lot.
Because we still have computer and we still have cameras. We just need to get audio up and going.
Audio for sure.
And switching gear. It's hard not to say just an eCam subscription, but that annually is going to be most of that money. So I would say if I just needed to reboot everything, switching gear, we'll say a cam link because that's $100 and I can get my camera into the computer. If we're not talking about that, then and I would just forego an ATEM or anything at that point.
Right.
But audio wise, $500, I would probably lean towards, I haven't even used this yet, but I would probably lean towards the Zoom P4, which might shock some people. The Zoom P8 was cool, but not as good as the Rodecaster, but the P4 is $250. It's 4 tracks. It has plenty of gain. Seems like a really awesome device, and it's really reasonably priced. That's $250 right there. And that would probably be my main audio thing because, it's the simplest way to go. And then for a microphone, it sort of depends if I would want a condenser mic. So that's $250.
Now we're breaking this budget down.
Yeah. Well, hey, so that's $250 there for the interface. I would spend another $100 on the Rode PSA-1, so that's $350 there. So now I have $150 for a microphone. We fudge these numbers a little bit. If I wanted a dynamic microphone, there's the pod mic for $100, which is a classic, but I'm also really liking this one that Heather's using, which is the MV7X, the Shure. It's $180, so I might bump our price range up just a little bit, but it's a really good sounding dynamic mic. If I was okay with a condenser mic, I would go with the Lewitt LCT 240 because it's $150 and it's one of the best sounding microphones that I have. It just depends if that selective fire burned up sound treatment or not too. So if I still had a decently sound treated space, I'd get the Lewitt. If I had like just an echoey charred space, then I'd get the Shure. So and then we have to factor in cables and things. But, for the sake of argument, that's what I'd go with. I think the P4 is a very good budget option to build something around. Yay. Let's see. From YouTube, Andrew Crawley. Oh, yeah. This is like brother from another mother situation. He teaches TV production and digital media at a high school. And he's feeling the itch to start making videos for himself, but feeling stuck in planning purgatory. I can't figure out which niche to go forward. Thoughts on having multiple video types on one channel, tech, business vlog, and woodworking DIY are all the things I'm interested in, but I didn't know if I wanted to narrow a channel down to just one thing. You are a YouTube coach, and I feel like this is your FAQ.
Well, here's what I would suggest. This is the most effective way to do it, is to start with a niche, and then once you build an audience, you can make it more around you and your personality and start to broaden from there.
Which is true.
That's the way, because it's just hard to get to know somebody if they're talking about a multitude of things. And if you think about the discovery and the way that discovery happens on YouTube, it's never by the person, rarely. Unless that person already has an audience, it's going to be the niche, right? It's going to be the topic. It's going to be woodworking. It's going to be tech. It's going to be business. And then they're like, oh, who's the person, who's the creator of this channel? Let me see what else they create. Yeah. So if you know that they're coming in because of business, but you're talking about woodworking, it's hard to kind of build that relationship.
Yeah. And I would say it does depend on what your goal is. If your goal is to grow a channel, 100%. That's the perfect
start
advice.
With a niche. Yeah.
If your goal is to just make stuff because you have that itch, you're helping your students make stuff, and you're like, I haven't made anything for myself because that's where I was for a long time, and you just want to make stuff, then throw everything at the wall and just have fun with it.
What I will say too is if you do something like Tom did, a 30-day challenge. Mm-hmm. I have this thing called the 10-day tackle where you make a video every day for 10 days. That will probably answer this question for you.
That's true, because you'll sort of figure out
what you have the most fun making.
Yeah. Early on, a lot of my videos were 3D printing based, and I still love 3D printing, and it's great. And those were some of my earliest, best performing videos. And I think had I focused my channel on 3D printing, it could have grown. It'd be much larger than it is now, much sooner. But I found out pretty quickly, like once I made whatever the 3D printing videos are that are on my channel,
done.
I had nothing else to really add, because it was either like spend a ton of time learning, 3D modeling software, design software that I didn't want to do, or it was just keep getting and reviewing printers, and I wasn't really interested in that. So it was kind of like stopping. And then I stopped making 3D printing videos because I didn't want to bring in people who wanted 3D printing videos, because they were going to they are not going to care when I talk about Ecamm or the Rodecaster or a microphone or whatever.
If your biggest problem is planning purgatory, do a 10-day tackle.
Yeah, just get it all out. Because early on too, like, nobody's going to be watching.
Right. This is you learning your alphabet and writing your first essays. Just, put the 10-day tackle or something like a daily challenge is awesome because the focus is just crunching out a video that day versus trying to make the perfect video.
Yeah.
So you get out of the like, oh, it has to be perfect. It's like, no, the challenge is just I have to make a video today.
Yeah. And
amongst life obligations.
One of my favorite pieces of advice that sometimes I've heard Heather give to people when they're trying to figure out what to make a video about is to like make a how-to video about something simple, like how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Because if you're stuck in your head and you're like, well, okay, a million things to approach, just take something super simple and just explain how to do it. And that's going to break it down. Yeah, like, how are you going to film that?
Like,
how would you show it?
If let's say Tom and I were going to make that video, the way we would approach that video and the way that it would look would be totally different. And that's when you can start thinking about, okay, your voice, your style, your personality, your way, like what your style of a YouTube video would look like. All of that is really, it's hard to come up with like, what's my niche going to be if you don't even understand what your format is or you know,
and
do you show your face? Do you not show your face? Do you have B-roll? Do you not?
We talked about the ska podcast. You might have something that sounds awesome and then you make 7 videos and you're like, well,
I'm done.
So, you know, so that's a thing that could happen and that's okay. So find the thing that you don't get tired of. Like Heather's always making fun of me. She'll walk by like, if I'm just hanging out watching a video on like the iPad, she's like, you're just watching a camera video.
It's like, I've never.
It's you, you and your hobby now though.
Yeah, I know. I always knew that about Tom, but like, just especially in the past month where, you know, this is not my podcast, but I've been feeling a little lost a little bit this past month. And I just realized how much Tom, like, it's like, oh, how do you stay consistent, Tom? He loves it. Like, he literally loves it. When he's not making a video, he's watching videos about how to make videos.
Yeah, it's true. I just really like it.
It's
always been the
thing.
case.
Yeah.
So whatever that thing is for you, you know, yeah.
It's not even a question. It's not like, oh, how do I stay consistent? He's not even like thinking about that because he's so obsessed with it.
Yes.
So you have to find that thing.
Yeah.
And now that I have found my thing,
you want to tell what it is?
Sure.
It's a safe space here.
So I got super into jump roping 2 weeks ago. I bought my first jump rope, and like I have lost sleep. I can't think
it's all
about
she talks
anything
about.
else. Yeah.
She's constantly showing me, but she got really good at jump roping.
I'm so obsessed. Like every day I'm just like, I can't believe I didn't do this earlier. And I started Instagram, I started a YouTube channel.
But it's the exact same thing of like.
But now that I have it, because I can't stop watching jump rope videos. And then I look over and Tom's watching videos about cameras and, you know, audio or new
and even you're like,
whatever.
oh, I need a weighted rope and I need this rope and I need the beaded rope and I need the fast rope and the slow rope and the whatever. So
like
there's all
every
the gear.
time my mind wanders or I start to daydream, it's just jump roping. For Tom, it's cameras.
Yeah.
Like it's just so it's finding that.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you found that. It makes me feel less weird because like I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. But also it just makes me really happy for you. We're gonna hop over to Instagram for LOL_it's Tony.
LOL it's Tony.
Congrats on your 100th episode. What's the process like?
Of what?
The creative process of creating podcasts, or I mean, so as you've seen in this or heard in this episode. I try to make this process as simple as possible. There's a lot of things I could have edited out or redone and maybe should have, but didn't. And that's my own I would do that in other cases and maybe other podcasts or something. But this one specifically is very much a real-time show. So when it's audio only, it's just sit down with the Rodecaster, press record and talk.
Yeah.
When it's video, it's a little more complicated because the cameras are set up. You know, trying to switch angles, trying to put a graphic on screen, make sure the sound is recorded both to Ecamm and to the Rodecaster. So it's a little more complicated, but it's still all pretty much real time with no editing. And then it's just uploading all that stuff when I'm done. We need to take a thumbnail too when we're done.
Sure.
So that's pretty much it. I try to keep it as simple as possible. And that started when I was teaching because if I had to spend as much time on a podcast as I did on a video, I would never have time to make a podcast. So it needed to be like my hour-long podcast is going to take an hour and 10 minutes to produce.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that made it practical. And that's kind of still the case. So, and I like it. It's really fun. I love listening to very well produced podcasts, and I would love to do that one day and create at least an episode that's like that. But,
I want to make a podcast like Criminal. Like just one episode that's like so researched. There's interviews, there's sound effects, there's like
you're building a world. Yeah. It's a very different thing. Yeah. But I like the laid back conversational style of this one. I also like Twitter. And that's where we're going to go for our next question from Bitcoin Gandalf at BTC Gandalf. I love this. And there's sort of two questions here. Question one, congrats on getting to 100 episodes. Thank you very much. I'm glad that nobody said I shall not pass 100. You're one of my favorite YouTubers when it comes to audio streaming video content. Question for me. Number one, to get the best possible sound on Twitter Spaces, I have an iPhone and I've tried connecting it to the Rodecaster Pro via Bluetooth and the wired phone input, but my audio quality in Twitter Spaces still sucks for some reason. I'm using a Shure SM7B with a Dynamite Cloud Lifter and the Rodecaster Pro. My mic audio sounds quite distant and echoey, like I'm inside a cave. I cannot speak specifically to Twitter Spaces because I've never used it. I'm just going to make the question a little tinier there. Because I've never used it, but I did, jump on the Clubhouse bandwagon at the start of the year.
As did all of us.
Yeah, for a little while there. And I used the Rodecaster on Clubhouse through the iPad because I could connect it directly. I could connect the Rodecaster via USB-C, and then I could connect my phone via a true TRRS cable with the two black rings to the Rodecaster. And wait, why was I using the phone? Oh, wait, maybe that was... No. I'm lying.
Yes, you are.
I am lying. Okay, I did this two different ways. I tried it on the iPad using just a USB mic. I used the Blue Yeti and I used the Rode NT USB Mini, just plugging the USB-C mic into the iPad because it's USB-C, and they work great. So you might be able to get a Lightning to USB-C adapter for the phone and then just use a USB-C mic or USB mic. That could work. The other thing that I did was kind of what you're saying, is using the phone in the Rodecaster. I had no issues. I just made sure that I was using a real TRRS cable, and I found out sometimes I thought I was and I wasn't. So you want to make sure when you look at the end of the cable that it has two black rings and not just one. Or maybe it's three black rings, actually. Crud. Where is my cable? I think it's actually three. I think I'm lying when I say two, because it's TRRS. I think it says two black rings would be stereo, and then the three would be the input. So it's a three ring situation there, and that's going to ensure that the audio is both coming in and going out properly. I'm not sure why you're having issues with the Bluetooth. Honestly, I'm not sure. And it could be, the reason I preface this with talking about Clubhouse over Twitter Spaces is because I haven't used Twitter Spaces, and they could potentially just have a different way of handling audio and audio inputs. So I would need to experiment more. So that's my vague answer. That's probably not super helpful, but thank you so much for the congrats. Let's see. What next? We are on... What is this? This is YouTube. And we've got the introvert amateur here.
Hey.
Hey, Tom. I always listen to your episodes during my walks with our baby.
Aww.
Congrats on the new baby. And
shout out to baby.
Yes. Well, don't shout at babies.
Shout out.
My question to you, after all these years on YouTube, which YouTube comment you got is still stuck in your head until today? One positive and one negative, and why? Love, the Buck Ramirez family.
That's cute. Aw.
This is a very relevant.
Oh, I have a good one.
For you?
No, for you.
For me, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boy, you are a snack.
Oh, yeah. We could say that's the pot. I got one that was from a dude that said, I think it said, "You, sir, are a snack."
Yeah, that's what it is.
Snack was capitalized. And I immediately show that to Heather, and now for like over a year.
I just say that to him.
Yeah.
You, sir, are a snack.
Yeah, I like it. It made me feel good. There we go. Yes, that's a good one. I guess that could be the good one. The bad ones, I don't think I have a specific bad one, but we kind of talked about this on our most recent couples table. There's like different levels of bad comments. there's the ones where it's the person is just like, F you, you're terrible, blah, 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 blah. Or it's like, it's not even, I am the video they clicked on and they were just going to put some terrible comment on any video they clicked on. So it even has nothing to do with me. I have no issue just getting rid of those. The ones that stick are the ones that feel like, it's the ones where I feel the urge to reply and like defend myself.
Yeah.
Or
those suck. Exactly.
Which a lot of times I have to determine like it's just ego and pride. Like someone is telling me I don't know about something that I know a lot about. You know, like if you think the Mac Mini is powerful, clearly you've never used a powerful computer in your life. And it's like,
that's
you
the
fool.
One that's
like,
the
I
one
ran
that's
computer
recently
labs.
been stuck in Tom's. He's been using that as the example.
Yeah.
Like,
but of course, like, you know, there's people telling me I don't know anything about audio. People telling me I don't know anything about microphones. People telling me, you know, boy, like my camera.
This is actually sponsored.
Oh, well, yeah. Then there's people giving me like, you know, telling me how to use my camera and do things right and what lens I should be using. And I'm like, come on. And then that's one that drives me crazy is when people say like, this is just an ad and you're lying and blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
do you find that most of these comments are from guys?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I don't think I've ever gotten one from a girl that I'm aware of. And I have. It is funny because the comments I get from girls are often. I never thought about this. I'm sure there's exceptions to the rule, but it seems like they're thanking me specifically for like solving a problem, and now they can do a thing that they were trying to do, like host their podcast somewhere or use multicam in Final Cut or something. But it's literally like, I've been trying to figure out how to do this. This video helped. Thank you so much. And but that's like 7% of the audience on my channel. So it's very small. I've gotten into a new thing lately, and when I say lately, I mean like in the past week, where as soon as I read a comment and it starts to make me feel funky, I just delete it and then just push it out of my brain and don't think about it anymore. Because
you have to, and especially as the longer you do this, the more you grow, the more that stuff's
because the ones that are meaningful are the really, even if it's just someone saying like love the video or like the jokes made me laugh or something like that.
Because even your positive comments are not just thanks for the video. Like usually people elaborate on
I get a lot of long comments.
Yeah.
So I always try to spend time like responding
like
to
clearly
every comment.
they watched.
Yeah.
And they're referencing something.
Yeah.
In the video.
Or like the encabulator video was a really fun one because people started really like making their own jokes and that was cool. You know, or people will ask a specific question. I'd like to try to help them if I could, or, you know, and I don't mind if people disagree. I have lots of comments where people will disagree with something and say this other thing is better, or I don't like this, or you forgot to talk about that. Totally fine if they just present it that way. At the end of the
day, you're having a conversation.
Yeah,
but
I don't mind that at all.
When someone comes over and is like, you suck, it's like, homie.
Yeah.
Mind your business.
Yeah, I don't mind a differing viewpoint. That's actually a helpful thing to have. But it's how you present the differing viewpoint.
Yeah, you are wrong and I am right.
Yeah, it's like the thing I keep thinking of is Gerald Undone on his and Josh Yo's Not a podcast. They talked about comments it was like a month or two ago now. But they were talking about especially comments with personal appearance and things where like, you know, people will just say, you look weird. Why are you so pale? And blah, 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 blah. If they're not calling you a snack. And the analogy that they used was if they were just sitting in a restaurant, like hanging out, having a discussion, and some person you don't know just shows up at the table and was like, why are you pale? You wouldn't spend your time trying to like reason with that person. You would think that they're crazy and ignore them or call someone to take them away because they're like a crazy person.
Yeah, that's why those are easy to ignore. But if it's someone who like you've seen at the restaurant, like every time you're there,
if it's something so like if an introvert amateur, you know, left a comment that was like, normally I like your videos, but this one, you know, I really wasn't feeling kind of it.
Meh.
Right.
That's what it's like. Oh boy.
Yeah. If it's someone you are familiar with, have a relationship with, respect, whatever, and they're like against that hurts. I did get one comment. I like this one. It was this is from Bandrew Scott from Podcastage. Left a comment on, I think it was my neat worker bee video, which is just full of like bee and hi and just neat. It's like it's just puns, and he left a comment that said, "I want to smack you," and I love that comment. I think that might be the pinned comment.
I thought it
on
was
that video.
Podcast Stage.
It is podcastage, which is really funny.
How funny.
So
I the whole time I've always read it as podcastage.
Podcast. Maybe that, I mean, but it's all one word. But it's funny because I originally found his channel about a year ago or a little more, and he's much more knowledgeable about audio stuff than I am and much more pro about it than I am. But there's some similarities. He has a very dry sense of humor. He has tons of different microphones, does comparisons. I realized
You gotta do collab.
we had been doing a lot of the same types of comparisons, like hitting tables and doing this, and even like testing microphones on instruments and amps. He'd been doing it way before me, and I'd been doing it before I found his channel. So it was just, simultaneous creation or whatever.
Great minds.
Yeah, but his channel's name is Podcastage. And when I was in high school, our band released an album. Okay, we uploaded songs online and called it a CD and made copies of it, and it was called Explodage.
Wow.
And I just,
really?
it's like the blank edge, like podcastage, explosion, explodage. Like, it was just like, wow. It's like,
Wait, your album was called Explodage?
yeah, like, it was like explosion.
Did you come up with that?
I did. I was 17.
I have no comment.
With exclamation point.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay, back to Instagram. If you could choose anyone on the YouTube platform to collaborate with, who would it be and why? This is from, Philip Bridges. PJ Bridges _28. Aside from my wife, who I met on YouTube and now do a life collaboration with.
Oh, cute.
And aside from you, Philip, for being amazing. I think the obvious answer would be Peter Lindgren, because we've been
Wow.
buddies.
I didn't think that's what you were going to say.
Well, I think that's the obvious answer, because we've been trying to figure out ways to make a video together for like a year.
I don't even think that's the obvious answer.
Oh, that's what we've been trying so hard to come up with video ideas.
Yeah, but I feel like, wow, I'm very surprised by that.
So because Peter and I are
thought
friends.
you would say like MKBHD, Casey Neistat. Like...
Oh, I would love to just hang out with my friend and like do cool stuff. And
yeah, but that's
Peter.
like bound to happen. You're gonna do that eventually.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I thought like Casey's someone that came to mind, but I just feel like there's too much disparity.
Yeah. No, I
it's
get it.
like, yeah, it's like
it wouldn't be a collab.
It's like I opened up my like little bake shop out of my garage, and now I'm going to hang out with Warren Buffett and learn about business. And it's like we're just at different levels. It's not the same thing. But the people I was thinking about lately, I have been okay. There's two people that come to mind. One of them is Joel Haver. Because,
oh yeah, there you go. That's the one.
Just because
it's like Tom's favorite YouTuber.
Yeah, I did a whole episode of this podcast about him, so they know. Because Joel's amazing, and I feel like that would definitely scratch the itch for like just absurdity and like hanging out and laughing all day while making a video with someone. Yeah, I feel like that would scratch that itch. And the other one would be another one of my recent favorite channels, which is Cathode Ray Dude.
This is the 12-hour live stream guy.
Yeah, he just did a 12-hour live stream this past weekend to try to like build funds for a studio, and the goal was to hit $2,500. And when all is said and done, is closer to $10,000. That's amazing. Like PayPal shut down his account and stuff.
How much do you donate?
I think like $100, 75 to 100. I did like a bunch of different donations repeatedly, so I don't know what the total is.
That's cute.
Yeah, but I'm so happy for that. But what I like about his channel is it's growing pretty well. He's like edging up on 60,000 subscribers currently, but I found him just a few months ago and he was at like 20 or something. So it's grown quite a bit. Every video he puts out gets, I would say, at least 20,000 views.
That's great.
He even put out a channel trailer that got like, I don't know, 15,000 views in a day, which is like, I don't get those views on most of my videos. So it's cool because it's tapping into something, and what he's talking about are like old tech, a lot of audio video tech and just sort of some other stuff, but he'll get old weird camcorders, weird laptops, weird audio things. Did a whole video about like the history of home video.
That's how you found him, right? It's because you were looking for stuff about your retro cams.
He's the one I learned about the Canon L1 from him as I was looking into like, I forget how I found the channel, but I think YouTube just recommended it because it was like, you're going to like this. But a lot of the videos are like 45 minutes long or 30 minutes or even an hour. And it's like, I'll just sit there and listen, and they're so interesting, and it's such an interesting perspective. And his whole thing is like talk about someone who is not trying to do YouTube as a job, but then it just sort of has turned into something where it's possible and is now just embracing that like organically, is really, really cool. And the thing that's fascinating to me is what he talks about. It's not product ads. It's not something you can go out and buy a new one of, or like sponsored by Sony from 1997. Like, it's just interesting. And there's people who are just really interested in like, not just what the thing is, but the story behind it. And so I've learned a lot about making videos about just stuff I'm interested from that channel. I've learned just a lot about interesting stuff from that channel. I don't know. I've just learned a lot from it, and I've enjoyed it so much, and it's super fun. So there we go. Those are my big ones right now. Let's see here. We are coming down to the wire. We've got 3 more questions. The next one is from, what is this? Twitter, from How the Tech Do I Do This? At How the Tech YT. 4 questions.
Right,
they said, I know there are a lot. Question 1, why did you decide to start a YouTube channel? Much like we talked about, I was a high school digital media teacher who didn't make anything, and I wanted to make something that was my own and where my voice wasn't being, I don't know, filtered through like something else, where it was just my own stuff. And I wish I had done it sooner.
What's your dream camera to have?
I don't know. I really, it's hard to say anything bad about the Sony a7S III that I have. The more I use it, the more I like it. And that's pretty good. I don't know that I have a dream one, other than like I'm kind of interested in the FX3. I believe Patrick's video submission was filmed on the FX3, and it looked really. It's the same camera, just in a different body. It's the exact same camera in a different body, but I'm kind of curious about like it's got a different body.
What would you recommend as a free alternative to StreamYard? StreamYard is free.
Is it? You know more about StreamYard than I do.
Well, it has a free. I mean, the logo's on it, but.
Yeah, it depends on what you're using it for. If you're using StreamYard for the multi-interview thing, I don't think there is one, especially if you want to stream it, because if you're just looking for streaming software, free streaming software.
Multi-interview and multi-platform streaming.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to be free anymore. Maybe Restream. Try that.
Yeah, Heather knows more about those. If you're just looking for free streaming software, I mean, OBS is the way to go. It's definitely not like...
Or just use honestly, I would use I'd use the built-in YouTube over OBS. But maybe it's come a long way, but
OBS has gotten, it's still clunky compared to Ecamm. Once you live in the Ecamm world, you're like, why would I go back to this?
Are you kidding? No way.
But I do know I've done some troubleshooting for some clients on OBS recently, and it is significantly better. And it does have the openness of Ecamm, where like if you have an idea to do something, you can probably figure out a way to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's cool. So if you want to do that kind of stuff, OBS is the way to go.
What are your tips for smaller creators starting out?
Kind of, similar to what we have talked about. Find something that's fun for you, that you can, the thing you don't shut up about. Don't necessarily go with like what's the most practical. Like, well, this niche, and according to this graph and this chart that I have here, I should make videos about this, and I should release them on Sundays between 2 p.m.
If you don't know what that is, do a 10-day tackle. Yeah,
do a 10-day thing and see what you end up liking, not liking, get tired of, don't get tired of, and then like the fun is paramount. Sorry, our dog Ben. I don't know if you can see this in the. In the overhead camera here.
His head is sticking out of...
He's like laying under my desk in a very precarious way that he does not really fit, because he's a giant 75-pound dog. But anyway, that would be my... You have to have fun with it. I don't know. I was talking to Heather about this, and I think we just know different people and have different social circles. So this is not a rule of the universe. But most of the people I know who are doing YouTube full-time, or could be, and are actively choosing not to because they're happy to keep their jobs, they all started, in my case, the people I know started their channels with no intention of, it was just a creative endeavor, and then it turned into something. The people I've personally known who have like actively been like, okay, I'm going to start a channel, I'm going to go full-time, and like it has not worked. And I think that there's something in that approach and the pressure you're putting on yourself and what you're choosing to make your channel about. Well, that's what I'm saying I literally, if I look at all the people I know.
I know, but I'm an entrepreneur world.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And in my circle.
What I'll say is, for the people that I have known that go into YouTube with the goal of it being some kind of source of income, they were already coming from, like, they already had the skill, the passion.
From total zero.
No, they were.
But they had something. They knew what it was going to be.
Yeah, they had a niche, let's say. So it's like you're already, maybe you already had a career, like a 10-year career in something, and then now you're just translating it to doing it yourself and then building an audience around that thing. Yeah.
But that's different.
But there's no like necessarily existing audience or something like that.
Right. They were starting online from zero.
Yeah.
They knew it was, they weren't like, do I make the baking channel? Do I make the woodworking channel? Do I make
They already knew what the niche was going to be.
Right. I think we're on the last one now.
Oh, I was looking at this list. I was like, dang.
These are just all my other overlays and stuff.
It's like, we got a long way to go.
I spent time this morning organizing this. We have 2 questions left. Second to last one from Cynthia.facondgraph on Instagram says, which basic setup or equipment to podcasts and live stream should I start with?
Your phone.
Yeah, I wanted to include this because this is a video I need to make. I get asked this question constantly, like, what's basic live streaming stuff do I need?
Your phone.
Phone is the way to go. Because,
dude, literally, so I just got the new iPhone 13 last week.
Yeah, last weekend.
With no plan on getting it. The reason why I got it is because my last one was an iPhone XR. Right?
With 64 gigs of storage.
With the freaking 64 gigs of storage, which is like, I can't believe I thought I was going to be able to just go forever with that. So I obviously wasn't. And literally every time I would go shoot a video, I had to go delete stuff. And I think, honestly, I got to the point where my phone just needs 60 gigabytes of stuff because I've filtered it down to like, I need to have this stuff always. And I don't know anything about the phones that have come before or after.
Right.
Or this phone, but like the video is just insane. Like
it's
the fact
really
that
good.
the front camera and the back camera they seem equally as good.
We were out filming the other day, I think, for Heather's channel. She was like, let me get a slow motion shot of this.
I was like, I'm not even going to pick up a camera. I'm literally not going to pick up a camera.
Heather McKinnon over here.
And you can do this for podcasts. You can do this for live streams. Like, I don't even, honestly, like, I don't even know why you
The tricky part is, though, phones are not cheap.
Yeah.
Like a phone by itself is an expensive device.
But if you already have one.
Yeah. So, I mean, podcasting and live streaming, it depends on how you want to differentiate those. Your phone could do both of them. Whether you do them the same, like you're streaming a podcast or you're recording a podcast separate and streaming separate. But your phone can handle a lot of it. Beyond that, some sort of dedicated audio device would be good just to up the quality. I mentioned the Zoom P4 earlier. I think that's a really good... For $250, 4 XLR inputs, a lot of cool features. It's super portable. I think that's a good thing to look into. And that's relatively reasonable. But also, just starting out with like a USB mic.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was like, 4 XLR inputs? So now you got to get an XLR mic?
Just a USB mic. I haven't done a video on it yet, but I have the Samson Q2U, which is like the really popular starter choice. It's like usually $60 to $70. And it's a great sounding microphone. It's USB and XLR, so it can grow with you. It comes with everything you need to get started. I would recommend starting something there and then growing, growing it as time goes on. And that way, if you decide you do this and you're like, I don't really like it that much, you're not like, well, I spent $2,000 on all this stuff. But if you decide I do like it and I want to buy something else, it's
upgrade as you go.
It's always frustrating when you go like, hey, I bought my thing. And then 2 months later, like, oh, I should have bought the other thing. So this is useless now. And now I'm spending twice as much money on something else. So buying the gear you can grow with is good. The Shure MV7 is a great mic option too, because it's USB and XLR and just an extremely good microphone. And you can go to colorware.com like Heather did and get it all customized, and it's more expensive that way, but it's a cool microphone. So I think that's the way to go. And then free software like OBS or YouTube Studio. There's so many free tools out there. And then once like the bug has bit you and you're stuck with it, that's when it's like, okay, I'm gonna start putting in some more money and investments. Last question. I think I know which one I saved for last. Oh, well, actually, this isn't the one I thought. Anyway, this is from Sasky, who Sasky_blessed on Instagram, who, thank you. Like, I owe you a thank you times a million for just always being incredibly supportive and kind and everything. So thank you. And the question is, would you do it again? Yes, times 1,000, sooner if I could. But my only regret I've said for all these things, YouTube, podcasts, whatever, is not starting sooner. So that's, I hammer that home for anybody who's thinking like, oh, I want to start. Do I start? What do I do? And it's just like, if you're in that phase, I think that it's really important to just go for it, because the worst thing that'll happen is you decide it's not for you, and then you do something else or you stop. And then the last that was supposed to be the last one, but this one I wanted to make sure to address, and I'm sorry I forgot to add it in. This is also from Instagram, from Kevin W1210.
Kevin W.
Can you talk about the difference in the Tascam Mixcast 4 and the Rodecaster? Tech spec differences. I think a lot of the new things that are coming out, like the Tascam and the Zoom P8, they have more gain than the Rodecaster, which is awesome. Definitely a nice feature to gain, because that means you can run a mic like the SM7B without having to have an external booster. That's super cool. Otherwise, the Tascam specifically, I've gotten so many questions. I mean, I probably get 2 or 3 times a day somebody asks, can you do a video about this? What about this? And I should, because clearly that video will do well. And Tascam makes really good products, but I personally am not into the podcast, the Rodecaster alternative that they're making, because showing up to the market 2.5 years later with a very similar product at kind of the same price, sometimes a higher price, to me is just like lame. Like innovate more, or at least bring the price down. And this is now my tinfoil hat personal opinion based on personal discussions. From what I understand and what I've sort of heard like rumors of is a lot of technology has certain licenses on it. So something like the Rodecaster has, circuit boards and chips inside that do things. And whether they're manufactured, whether those components are manufactured by Rode or they're from another company, it could be that Rode has like a license on those. This is all theoretical. I don't know that this is true, but it could be that they have a license on those. And the reason that I bring that up is because it's only been in the last 6 months or so. It was after the Rodecaster been out for 2 years that we started to see competing products really pop out. And that's interesting because a lot of times those licenses on technology last for 2 years. And so that could mean that whatever it was in the Rodecaster, Rode had licensed that technology or had their own license on it for 2 years. That expired, and now other companies are like, hey, we can jump on this and do that. Because otherwise, like, people have already bought this thing. Like, no, I don't think anyone's going to throw away their Rodecaster for like an identical product with a different logo on it for the most part. And I know that's oversimplifying things, but there's no huge innovation there. I think what it is, and I don't know about the licensing thing, that was just an explanation I had heard as to why these things are suddenly showing up after 2 years. The other part of it is that now that this has been out for several years, it's sort of like a saturated market, and bringing in these new products is a way to just sort of like, here's one last push on a saturated market. And part of me thinks that the reason Rode doesn't seem to care about these competing things at all is that they're confident in how they update the Rodecaster via firmware updates, which I haven't seen anyone else that does that. Zoom is cool, but like they are not known for updating their stuff. It just is what it is kind of forever for the most part. The Rodecaster gets multiple updates a year that make it a different device. Second is, if Rode is making some sort of follow-up device to the Rodecaster based on what they've learned over the past couple of years of this, they're probably not sweating all the competitors. And my thought is you just go with the original thing. Like, just go with the thing that started it all. And they've earned that. And all the other companies who are trying to compete come up with something different. Like, clearly the Rodecaster's been embraced by the streaming community, but it was designed as a podcast first device. Stop making other podcast first devices. Make other things that are more adaptable to the streaming community. I don't know. Something that's a little different besides like, it's in a different shape. Like, I don't know. Anyway, I just appreciate the people who do the thing first. And the Rodecaster was the first thing of its kind, fully formed, like podcast all-in-one studio that's truly functional. Anyway, let me see if I can get down off my soapbox here. Okay. So anyway, any last thoughts, Heather, before it was our last question?
Congrats.
Yay, 100 episodes
Yay.
of sitting in room ranting about stuff. So thank you again to everybody who submitted questions and videos and all that great stuff. I did just want to remind everybody, there is that sweet coupon code. You can go to himynameistom.com/courses and enter promo code TEP100 for 16% off, because this is the 16th episode of the season. And that'll work on either course. If you combine them together, it's there. And that's good until November 8th. So if you want to join in any of those courses or take any of those things, now's the time to do that. They do have, I added small private community components to those. So there's a Discord server for those. And that's pretty cool. Those are growing and those are fun. And yeah, Heather, where can people find you if they want more of your sage wisdom?
Heather Just Create on all of the things.
Yeah. And yeah, you know where I am. If you have something that you want to contribute to a future episode, this will be the last Q&A episode of 2021. But I'm always happy to include comments and thoughts in any episode. You can always send them to tom@enthusiasmproject.com. That's the best way. You can reach out on social media, but tom@enthusiasmproject.com.
Congrats on 100. It's a big deal.
Thank you. It's crazy. It didn't really hit me until this morning. I was like, oh, wow, 100.
That's a lot.
100 times of just this podcast.
Do you know how many hours it is? That's a lot.
It's
at least 100 hours.
It's at least 100 hours, but it's more because there's a lot of 90-minute episodes and but there's also some like 50-minute episodes. So yeah, it's a lot of time, a lot of me yapping about stuff. So thank you for spending your time with me. I very much appreciate it. Yay. And I hope you have a safe, happy, healthy rest of your day, week, and I will see you next time.
Bye.